If you're watching this, you've probably finished all 8 episodes of The Stranger and are thinking,
"Oh shit, buddy, I gotta dig a little deeper."
So, to help out, I've broken it down into 5 questions that trace the major mysteries. Here's the whole thing untangled.
None of this makes any sense. What with that and the money and Corinne disappearing? What am I missing?
Let's start with the big one. Who is the stranger? She parachutes into people's lives armed with a baseball cap and their darkest secrets, but we don't get a hint of why she's at the centre of every drama until the Michaela side plot. The stranger is insistent, borderline desperate, that Michaela doesn't marry her fiancé.
My mother married the wrong man and it cost me my entire life.
That man turns out to be Kelaine. While it might seem she's blackmailing strangers to fund a beach bar, the stranger, real name Christine Kelaine, is powered by a deep-rooted desire for truth. Chris grew up believing her mother, Natasha, abandoned her and Kelaine, but a major twist reveals Kelaine murdered Natasha in a fit of passion. Kelaine's refusal to sell his home decades later was not a byproduct of sentimentality, but self-preservation.
You raised your child in a house with the corpse of their mother buried in the walls.
Adam summarises pretty neatly here why the stranger is messed up. Her intense hatred of secrets stems directly from growing up in a household cleaved by 2. The murder of her mother, and later, discovering that Kelaine is not her father. Ed is. That makes Adam her half-brother and leaves her with a burning ambition to bring the darkest truths of people's lives to light, and, where possible, get paid for it. The very first twist of the series reveals that Corinne Price faked her pregnancy and miscarriage, but
This isn't what you think. There's more to this.
So, first things first, she faked the pregnancy in a bid to keep her marriage together after Adam's affair with a colleague. But then, 2 years later, Doug Tripp steals money from the local football club. Corinne finds out, and as treasurer, is not best pleased. So, in a bid to buy himself more time, Tripp tells the football coach Corinne stole the money and she's going to try and pin the blame on him. Furious, Coach hires Chris to dig dirt on Corinne, and in the process, Chris discovers the fake pregnancy and the fact Adam is her half-brother.
But how did this stranger know all of this?
Good question. Chris's partner Ingrid works at a detective agency with the resources and materials to dive deep into people's lives. But investigating Corinne for Coach sets off a chain reaction of events. Chris warns Adam of Corinne's lie out of family loyalty. Adam confronts Corinne, and Corinne thinks that Tripp hired Chris to threaten her into silence over his crimes. So she tells him in no uncertain terms that his time is up. In desperation, Tripp murders Corinne the day of the awards ceremony, meaning Corinne is actually dead for pretty much the entire season. And if you're wondering how Tripp kept that so quiet, we get a sneak peek of his ability to snake his way out of situations when his son, Mike, is questioned by police.
It's a disgrace.
Once again, Mr. Tripp, your role is not to answer questions on Mike's behalf, but to assist if he doesn't understand the question.
Slimy. Patrick Katz works with DS Joanna Griffin, but spiralling medical bills for his sick daughter, Olivia, prompt him to find a side hustle. He takes work as head of security for a nasty piece of work called Larry Powers. Chris and Ingrid blackmailed Powers for using a sugar daddy website while his pregnant wife sat at home. So Powers instructs Katz to find a way to avoid paying the cash. This leads Katz to the Brown Sugar Cafe, where Heidi, the mother of Powers' sugar baby, works. His attempt to interview her spirals out of control when he realizes that Chris is blackmailing Heidi too, and she holds an envelope of evidence that could expose his client. Katz kills Heidi to contain the secret, not realizing that Heidi is his boss's best friend, and in desperation plants Corinne's key fob at the scene in a bid to frame someone else for the crime. In another plot twist, it's revealed that Olivia's mystery illness, the reason Katz got involved in the whole sordid affair, was caused by her mother, who was pumping her with rat poison.
Very soon, I'm going to come into some money, okay? And I'm going to be around a lot more for you, I promise. And you and me are going to do such great things together.
The show opens with a huge mystery. How did a silent disco at a bonfire lead to this guy running naked through the woods and a decapitated llama?
Alpaca, actually.
Right. Any good mystery needs a red herring, and this plotline is the strangers. These events aren't linked to Chris or Corinne's stories, but instead the actions of a teenage girl, Daisy. Dante ends up face down in the woods after hitting on Daisy at the bonfire. She thinks his interest is inappropriate, so decides to teach him a lesson by stealing his clothes when he suggests skinny dipping in the lake. Dante bumps into the sports club's groundskeeper in the dark, who gives him a bit of a fright and sets him accidentally tumbling down the hill. Meanwhile, back at the bonfire, Olivia tells Daisy Mike is responsible for spreading lewd photos of Daisy's little sister, Ella. But she's lying. Olivia spread those photos because she's got a crush on Mike and is worried he likes Ella, so she wants to shame her. Daisy believes the lie and punishes the innocent Mike by lacing his joint with a dangerous hallucinogenic drug called PCP.
Sorry, Days, but you've proven yourself to be absolute trash when it comes to decision-making.
That leads Mike Tripp on the trip to end all trips, initially befriending an alpaca on a nearby farm, but then beheading it when he thinks it's going to eat him. But anyway, now that's cleared up. Anyone else notice this woman named her alpacas after One Direction?
Harry, Zayn, Louis.
Oh, poor Louis. Christine Killane may be at the centre of The Stranger, but the heartbeat that pumps the show's action forward is a single question. How far would we go for those we love?
When it comes to looking after ourselves and our kids, and we're all corrupt.
Here, Tripp foreshadows the dark deeds he's about to commit as early as the first football game. But plenty of other characters make extreme decisions anchored in the needs of their relatives. Daisy spikes Mike's joint for her sister. Heidi is prepared to pay £10,000 for her daughter. Katz commits murder for his. Killane murders his wife for Chris. Even in side plots, Michaela is willing to live in a lie to experience what she perceives as true love from her fiancé. Joanna risks professional scrutiny to bring Heidi justice. And Olivia shames a friend to draw the eye of her crush. Each twist and each storyline in The Stranger can, at some point, be traced back to a single person and their desperate desire for those they love.